Welcome to the Empowered Mothers Network podcast, supporting mothers to be the best version of themselves. I'm Sarah and this is episode 17, which is releasing blockages with energy healing. So today I'm going to be talking all about energy healing, and this is something that I've worked with for quite a few years. So I think I qualified as a Reiki practitioner. I think it was 2009 I got my Reiki level 1, and then I think 2012 I got my Reiki Masters. And I also qualified in crystal healing. I got the crystal healing diploma about 2013-14 I think, so we're talking like 10 years ago. So I've worked with energy for quite a long time. I've also worked with energy healing a little bit more unconsciously when I was a child, because I wasn't really as aware of what it was then. It was just something that I sort of knew I could do and work with, but I didn't really have sort of a name or a label to give it back then. So quite a while. So I've seen the benefits of energy healing on a wide variety of people. I've done a lot of treatments on myself. I've done treatments on other people, and it's always been something that has fascinated me, and I always wanted to get back into like the science behind energy healing, which I always like to read up on. And again, as I've said in other podcasts, I think now there is more of a correlation, and there is more kind of speaking coming between the scientific world and the spiritual world. There's a bit more connection being drawn between the two now, which is really interesting. So there's more and more evidence coming out to kind of support the kind of like science and how energy healing works on like a scientific level. So it's really fascinating. And I've worked with people who are, you know, like really into kind of holistic healing and very spiritual people. And I've worked with people who are kind of more grounded and practical and aren't really, you know, sure about all this energy healing stuff, you know, a bit quite skeptical. I've done some treatments on my father before he passed years ago, and you know, it was interesting to work with him because I think he was a bit skeptical about it, but he tried to sort of have an open mind, and there were some changes, and there were some things that I picked up on which have been interesting in terms of the ancestral line now. So if you haven't watched the podcast about ancestral healing, or healing trauma through the generations, I think it was called, that's an interesting one to watch, because ancestral healing is something I'm really working with personally, and the benefits are really, really interesting if you want to read up a bit more about that or listen to the podcast and find out a bit more. So energy healing is, you may have, I think most people have heard of Reiki by now, and that's the main forms of energy healing. So if we're talking about what is energy healing, most people think of Reiki. So obviously this is a form of energy healing where there's like a direct lineage. When you get your Reiki level 1, you get like a lineage chart of, you know, who attuned you and who attuned them all the way back to the founder of Reiki. And Reiki works, as well as channeling the energy, by the sacred symbols which you're given. So I think, to me, these symbols are used by so many people and for such a long time that the sort of healing consciousness is really encapsulated within the symbols. So when you draw that symbol out, or when you visualize that symbol, you're kind of tapping into that collective energy around healing that has... It's a bit like everybody having a cup of water and pouring it into one big pot over from all different places and through a long period of time. You know, eventually that pot's going to be absolutely full of water. So it's kind of like you're dipping into that pot. So yeah, many of us know about Reiki, and that is something that I have used for many years. And you can also use it like directly on somebody, like on a treatment couch or wherever. You know, you can work on somebody directly, you can work on yourself. You can also work very well with Reiki from a distance, so the person doesn't even have to be there. I gave, again, my dad, I gave Reiki to him, it was 24 hours before he passed. Obviously I wasn't with him, but I did like a distance Reiki treatment on him, and using a photo basically is often a good way to do distance healing if you've got a photo or something of somebody that you want to work with, and obviously their permission as well, on some level, then you can kind of go with that. But Reiki isn't the only form of energy healing. You may be aware of like shamanic healing, which also uses energy work. There's all sorts of different forms. I think there's Nordic energy healing, which taps into the kind of energy of that particular geographical area and the ancestry as well. So it can be interesting to kind of, wherever you are in the world, really be more aware of A, your ancestry, and B, the land in which you inhabit, which isn't always our ancestral land for all of us, because many of us have travelled or settled somewhere else or somewhere further back in the line has. But it can be interesting kind of researching where your ancestors were from, where you're from, and kind of using that if you want to do energy healing as part of your kind of toolkit, and using the energies of the land. A lot of people do work with the energies of the earth. Again, this has been, I guess, not as popular as Reiki, because I guess for a lot of us, we kind of, and this has happened for me as well, you kind of see the earth as, you know, something that we've not looked after, and we've like defaced, and we've kind of stripped her of so many things. So in a way, to then say, oh, I want to channel up energies from the earth and work with those, can feel somewhat, I guess some of us might feel like disrespectful, or like we've taken enough already, we shouldn't be taking any more. But I don't think that that's the case. For a start, many of us who kind of have this viewpoint or are following this path in life are very conscious on, like, generally, practically, physically, our environmental impact anyway, and are doing the best that we can do to kind of minimise that. And also, you know, whatever we have done right or wrong, I think we are intrinsically connected to the earth. We are part of the earth. We go, you know, our bodies return back to the earth once we have passed, and we are ultimately completely intertwined with the earth, especially while we are incarnated in physical bodies. So to me, I think if working with earth energies is done like with respect, and knowledge being passed down, then that's can only be a good thing, really. So there are all these different types of energy healing. So you've got the more like earth energies, and then I think things like Reiki are a bit more sort of channeling energy from spirit. So it might be interesting if you are either wanting to work with energy healing yourself and you're at the beginning of your journey, or you feel called to have some energy healing done upon yourself. Then it's like, which sort of energies are you kind of called to work with? And something that can be useful to figure that out at the moment is looking at the chakra system. I won't go through the chakra system here, because, you know, you can find plenty of information online about what each chakra relates to, you know, whether it's overactive or underactive, what it relates to. So essentially you've got your crown chakra, your third eye, your throat, your heart, and you won't be able to see the rest, solar plexus, and then your sacral, which is just a couple of fingers below your belly button, and your root touches right down, sort of at your tail bone of your spine, I guess, like at the very core of your base there. So you might intuitively be able to realise kind of what blocks you have in your life, and once you know a bit about what each chakra pertains to, you might then get an idea about which ones need working with. So if you feel like you've got blockages relating to wounds of like safety, and maybe you never felt safe in childhood, or you feel, situations in your life are playing out because you have this underlying feeling of not feeling safe and secure, then you know that your root chakra needs some work and some healing and rebalancing. If you had wounds of like the safety and the feelings of belonging, you might work from like the bottom up, for example, where you would probably more connect with earth energies and use those, drawing them up from the bottom and working up. So then you'd integrate that in your body and bring it up through the root chakra and up through the chakra system and out. Whereas the other way round would be if you need to integrate more from like the top down, then you would be maybe using something more like Reiki to channel energy from spirit, and that would, sort of filter down spiritual guidance, spiritual insights, filter down through your chakra system. And often like a mix of both of those I think is useful for us. I think most of us benefit from, I think most of us have wounds about where we're from and our basic survival instincts and feeling safe. There's often something there, so drawing that energy up is useful, and then also drawing it down from spirit for more sort of spiritual guidance and more connection to our spiritual selves. If we're drawing from the bottom up and from the top down, we're then getting a really solid and secure connection to both spirit and to both the earth energy of the planet that we live on. So that can really help like ground us and balance us. So as I mentioned at the beginning, another form of energy healing is crystal healing, which is something that I've studied a lot, and I've always loved crystals since I was a child. I've been obsessed with them. So I have quite a healthy crystal collection now. I studied crystal healing because, again, it can work with both. So from connecting with spirit and connecting with the earth energies, hence the crystals. And also as well as doing sort of crystal layouts around yourself for healing, or meditating with the crystal, or putting them either around your body or on your body. You can also get crystal dowsers. So you might have seen those. They're like little crystal pendulums that you have on a chain, and you can either use them for yes, no answers, or you can use them with like a dowsing chart, which might have specific options written on. And then it's really useful for asking like more specific questions, and questions that you can then use the crystal dowser to ask to your subconscious mind. So you're not, this is where you practice that thing of getting your conscious thinking mind out of the way and just taking a back seat for a minute, and you're looking at dowsing to really sort of tap into your subconscious mind and then get answers from that through the crystal. You might have heard of kinesiology or muscle testing as well, which is a similar process to that of dowsing, but you're just using the muscle response of either your own body or somebody else's. That's kind of the same asking of the subconscious mind. And you can find out from both of these options like what blockage or issue you need to work on perhaps at the moment or first, or what stuck emotion needs releasing. If you've read the emotion code, then you might know about trapped emotions and how stuck emotions can kind of reside in different places of the body, and then they can then go on to sort of cause physical problems further down the line. So you might find out which stuck emotion needs releasing, or if you're doing ancestral healing, like a particular pattern or even like an ancestor in particular that you need to work with. So why have energy healing in particular? Say if there's something feeling stuck, even if it's like on a physical level, for example, you might be straight to say, right, I'll go and have a massage and that will solve the physical problem. And why choose energy healing to release your blockages? I think for me, energy healing is like, I guess it's complementary. So if you're doing particular work with removing blockages, And we'll assume with removing blockages, firstly, we're working on like either a mental or emotional level. So, you know, you might find that you have like a lack mentality, and that's blocking you from receiving money, for example. So if you're doing work like that where you're wanting to remove blockages, you probably want to include like a range of tools as well, not just energy healing. So like a range of tools for me to remove blocks would be things like meditation and breath work, which can help shift the blockage. Also, the physical movement as well is important. So looking at aspects of nourishing our physical body so that when we, you know, if we are doing things like energy healing and we're helping to shift the blockages, then we need to kind of keep that energy flowing and moving. Now it's become unstuck, and get the physical body to kind of remove and get rid of what's no longer needed, and also kind of reintegrate and balance what's left. So physical movement could be like yoga or Tai Chi, and then, you know, also on a physical level, kind of what you're eating, really looking at what food you're putting into your body is obviously important from like, you know, like a weight kind of. A lot of us are interested in what we're eating because of maybe our weight or our appearance, but it's also can reflect as well in the spiritual and the mental and emotional levels. So really watching what food we're putting in our body, and again looking at, you can use herbal medicine for like both helping you to clear blockages and also supporting your system as you do so. And talking of supporting your system, I think energy healing is one of, you know, the tools I just mentioned are like tools in a tool bag. So energy healing is like one of the tools in the bag which can do the actual shifting work for you, but you can also use it to like rebalance and support your system at the same time, which is really important to do. And it speaks as well, working with energy healing, again, speaks to your subconscious mind. I think if it worked on more of a conscious thinking level and spoke to your conscious mind that can think and make decisions and choose, you might run the risk of like deciding that you could heal or release more than maybe your systems could actually cope with. And that would, you know, manifest probably in a very big healing crisis. So often with energy healing, we can have a bit of what we call a healing crisis. So for example, if you've got like a trapped emotion of grief or whatever, or a blockage, and there's problems with, and you know you need to release grief from your body, then it might be that once you have healing work on that and that starts releasing, then you might have a bit of a healing crisis where suddenly, you know, you're crying nonstop. And it doesn't have to be, it's not always as obvious as well. So like I say, grief, you might cry. Sometimes because you're releasing it, it can be either sympathetic or antipathetic. So it could be crying, or it could be that you like just can't stop laughing because suddenly you've removed kind of this grief that's been blocking you, and you're able to feel a bit more joy in your life. So yeah, you can do energy healing or crystal healing as a self-treatment, or you can use a practitioner to do the treatment on you. I think the benefits of using a practitioner are that, you know, somebody that's not closely involved in your day-to-day life, is the benefit there is the objectivity. So there's less of a likelihood of conscious interference from like existing beliefs and assumptions and wants, and your conscious mind isn't necessarily as likely to get in the way as it would if somebody else is doing it for you. Another reason to use like a practitioner over your own treatment, or as probably alongside, I mean, I wouldn't really say use one or the other. I would probably have some treatments from a practitioner, but also continue to do self-treatments on yourself between visits to support your system yourself, because a lot of this is like empowering your own healing journey. So again, we don't want to be just projecting that onto somebody else for them to do all the healing. And sometimes we can't do everything alone. So like if the lesson is to let other people in and embrace vulnerability, then letting somebody else have like a role in the process of your healing can be a really powerful way in inviting community and connection with others in. So it might be that you're not aware of where you have got a blockage in your systems currently. So it might be that you don't know where you have a blockage currently, or you've maybe got an idea that you've got a blockage, but you're not quite sure what it is. Something that is an example that many of us have nowadays is where we have sort of closed hearts. So again, if you've read the book The Emotion Code, you might have read the section where they talk about like the heart wall, which is a layer of like trapped emotions that kind of build up around our hearts over time, essentially in order to protect us, from things that inevitably happen in our life that can cause us like emotional pain. So they kind of build up, and like it's called a heart wall, or you could see it as a closed heart. But then it's that idea of like different hurts and trapped emotions, situations and wounds that have contributed towards the building of it, or the kind of closed upness, the walls that you've put around your heart center, and that can obviously take time to break it down. And it also can like manifest in various different ways in our lives. So if you've got like a closed off heart, you might be finding it difficult to either give or receive love, or both. Or you can have problems again with like stored grief, or finding maybe that you struggle to like maintain relationships because you can't really open up on that heart connection level. And yeah, closed hearts can like block us off from receiving not just love and affection and attention, but also things like abundance and good fortune or good luck, and even just like help, assistance in our lives. So energy healing can, help to break these walls or this closure down, whilst like simultaneously supporting you once they have. And it's a bit like cracking the shell and exposing the vulnerable softness underneath. I think then you need that like excuse me, you need that like support to go out into the world in that changed state. So once you've kind of cracked the shell and you're feeling open and vulnerable, you then need, you can't just leave it and leave yourself exposed to the elements, but rather kind of have some ongoing support to go out there back into the world, which is still as whatever it is at the moment. So still to go back out into the world in the like changed state that you're in. But this time, with obviously you'll need some kind of boundaries, or then it goes too much the other way. But that energy healing can sort of give you the support and to make the new boundaries that like protect you but don't completely close you off. So again, let me know in the comments if you've ever had energy healing, or do you practice any forms of energy healing yourself? Has it helped you shift blockages in your life? And maybe, if you shift some blockages, has it made like lasting change? I'd love to know other people's experiences of energy healing and whether you found it useful. So let me know in the comments below. As ever, if you want to stay in touch and keep notified when the next podcast is, and please subscribe on YouTube, or you can join us on the mailing list at empoweredmothersnetwork.com. Otherwise, I will see you for the next episode.